If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah blah.
Good vibes.
Blah
Good vibes.
blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
The dreams that you have are screen memories, and the screen memories are created by your own mind to protect you from whatever trauma you had dealt with.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Lisa O Hara a little bit later. Abducted and Furious. She's been abducted a few times and not happy about it, I guess. Speaking of abducted and not happy about it, you were almost abducted once too, weren't you, buddy?
Never.
Never? You
Never.
wish?
No, I'm not.
Would you like to be probed?
Well, that's different.
Would you Would you meet the aliens if it involved a probing? And you knew that going in?
Yeah, I don't think that would affect my decision.
No?
No.
Would it maybe help your decision?
No. I said it wouldn't affect it either way.
So the barbecue is a success? Success?
Yeah, good job. Yeah, that was fun.
We should
Yeah.
give a shout. Well, I didn't make a success. I did make the pork belly a success. I will take the credit for that.
Pork belly was good, yeah.
It was. Brined it overnight.
Yeah.
Then I
cool.
did two styles.
Nice, yeah.
One in the oven and one on the barbecue.
Yeah.
Next time I would smoke one too, but I just didn't have the time to get set up for that. It'd take about 6 hours.
Is the barbecue one supposed to burn like that a little bit, or?
Yeah, I wanted it charred a
Yeah,
bit.
okay.
It probably
Yeah.
could have been less charred, but then it was a busy day
Yeah, yeah.
with birthday parties
Yeah.
and everything else. So I would have probably liked
Yeah,
to
happy
take that
birthday.
over like a,
Big 40th this week.
what? That was last week. Yeah. Did we
Last
not
week.
talk about that on the show yet?
I don't think we did much, really.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about the kiddo's birthday party that I was running her back and forth to during the
Right,
barbecue and
right.
trying to make
Yeah.
pork bellies
Yeah,
and everything
yeah.
else. But everything's turned out great. So, I mean, big shout out to the Reverend. I don't know if he gives people his real name, so we'll just call him that.
Reverend in the chats, yeah.
The Reverend Jasper Paul.
It was almost a no agenda meetup.
It was a slight no agenda meetup too. Of course, Michael was there, Natasha. Who else? Miles. And Jason
Yeah.
came later.
Yeah, it was
Slows.
good. Yeah.
I won't say his last name. I said most of his last name. You see if you can figure out the rest. So yeah, it was a hit. And there's a bunch of kids here running around too, having a blast, lining us up for the dance party, which nobody danced
That
at.
was crazy. Crazy. What's going on here? I figured it out later.
Ruthless.
I'm like, oh, they want like a lineup like the club. Like there's a lineup of the club and they're asking people to come in. Like,
Oh
for
yeah, they
certain
wanted to
things,
seem
right?
like it's
I was
a
like,
high-end event.
Yeah. What the hell?
Going by birthday. So yeah, turned out great. Great barbecue. We'll have to do another one down the road.
Yeah.
I'll have to get Michael back on the show soon. It's been a while.
Yeah, for sure. Miss Michael. Yeah.
I think he's still hiding out in the chats. I think he's Black Pill cool guy.
Oh, he might. He's still. He's.
I think he's in there, yeah. But he has not in there much. But I mean, it's a busy season for Michael.
Yeah.
It's spring.
Yeah.
Dude's got a farm, a
Yeah.
functioning farm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a busy time of year. Busy doing stuff. My chickens are happy to be running around the yard again. I'm
Nice.
surprised they're not looking in the window, pecking at the glass. They got crush on Graham.
How long have they lived? Got to live? A couple years still?
I think I got another year and a half, or probably by like not this winter coming, but
Yeah.
next winter, I'll probably have to think about. They might be too old for the winter.
Right. And then do you do it like do you proactively end their
That
lives,
would
or do you
be
have to
m-
wait?
if
Do you
it's-
wait? Can
if
you
it's
wait and
my
then just
decision-
find them and eat them? Or?
No, you can't
can't do
find
that?
them and eat
No,
them
you can't do
either.
that.
I
don't
mean,
know.
we'll see. I mean, it's been a year. I'm not super attached to them. I mean, I'm not stoked to go cut their heads off. I mean, but the kids are a little attached to them, but they've been growing less attached to them. You know, as the longer they're around, the more they seem to be like farm animals. And the kids now come hunting and stuff. So we will see at the end of it if they decide. It'll be up to the kids.
Oh, that's good. I like how you let your kids decide things like that.
If they want to kill the chickens, we'll kill the chickens and eat them. And if they don't, we'll just let them die a natural death and throw them in the compost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get a couple more. I mean, maybe we'll end up having a couple more before these ones go if we did it like that. I don't know. I mean, by then I plan to be out of I mean, I was in Langton for the birthday party.
Yep.
And I noticed over there that you could just have chickens. Game on. The birthday party, there had to be 30 fucking chickens in that coop. Like wide open.
Wow.
Right in the middle of town. So I might have to, I mean, I just signed on here for another year. But actually, I'm not going to move from here until it's to the country.
Yeah.
So, but I'm hoping that's within a year or two. So hopefully before these chickens die, I'll be out in the country. I'll just have a bunch of chickens and because they're cheap as shit. So I just get like 15 or 20 of them just so I can give all you guys eggs.
Cool.
At cost.
Yeah.
So what do you got? That's enough.
Well,
it was my
okay,
birthday bash.
Yeah. So
My 40th. I'm catching up.
Good
How old are you?
job,
52?
50,
51?
50.
Are you still only 50?
I'm still only 50. This is the year of the decades where you're 40 and I'm 50.
So you'll be 51 July 11th?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 40. If you want to send me something, go to the support page, sign up for a monthly. That'd be super.
Yeah.
The best birthday present you could do is sign up for monthly or head over to the new show, sign up for plus.
Speaking of that, the Outlawed, the new show. So in this show, we do this intro where before the guest comes on, we ramble, we talk about listener emails and synchronicities and project operations and kind of we have our sort of thing going here, but we're trying to keep it a little bit lighter, a little bit more positive in here. But the next Outlawed, the Grimerica Outlawed that's coming out, please go and subscribe to that podcast as well. Even if you're not going to go to the plus part of it, the premium feed, but at least get the free thing downloaded. So we get better like
Graham's got some
algorithmic gain and stuff if we have more listeners to the free show. So Grimerica Outlawed, and then
nah, dude, I'm telling you,
this one that's coming out.
I'm telling you, the algorithm don't give a fuck because Outlawed with its start should have been like the top show on New and Noteworthy,
right?
And it got totally blackballed,
right off the
bat. Nothing.
Okay, well,
I mean,
that's another reason to just subscribe.
Our 6th episode got like 7,000 downloads. I would like to think. I mean, we got the old show in New and Noteworthy with like 300 downloads on an episode.
Well, yeah. Okay. So that's a whole other reason to.
But that episode that was downloaded was titled China and Communism. So.
Yeah. And we don't have a YouTube for it anymore because it's already been striked out and it's gone.
No, there's one strike left. I'm saving it for something special.
Are you? Really? Is there one strike left? I thought we got.
Well, we're still on the bench.
I thought we were canceled. Okay, so we're on the
still
bench.
on the bench right now. From
but it's really just there to get taken down.
I don't know. I got strike 2 with the Canadian doctors video.
Yeah. Oh my God, the description on that's perfect. It's like this is misinformation about, and then it says Canadian doctors speak out. Like
yeah. So then the next one, I'm saving strike 3. Maybe I've got a doozy.
Yeah, let's do it. Just line it up. Just pitch that ball right down the middle.
Are you sure?
Yeah, do it.
We better talk about the doozy offer.
Okay.
Before you just
we'll talk. See, this is the thing I'm trying to get at. For the next Outlawed episode, which is coming out at the end of this week, we're going to do an intro. We're going to have some space in there for us to rant a little bit about this stuff. So I'm going to talk about some articles from VCC and some other things, just a sort of a current event kind of rant, COVID sort of vaccine rant, and we can talk about that then. So what I guess what I'm saying is we're going to use that. Sometimes we'll have room to do our own little intro rant.
Whatever you want.
But usually that's just like the guest.
Also, we've got quite possibly the conspiracy kingpin of our generation coming on the show next month. I still half expect him not to show up or just say April Fools, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
If I didn't know he had done a couple other shows recently.
Yeah, exactly.
And me and Gareth and I do seem to have a pretty good rapport, not a big one, but back and forth on Twitter and such. So we got David Icke coming on April 1st for the Grimerica show. And then April 2nd, Good Friday, we'll have Gareth Icke coming on for Outlawed. Those are both the Outlawed, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Icke is going to go off about COVID most of the time.
That's
I'm
good.
assuming.
Good.
Yeah. So that's why you should go check out those shows. That'd be a great little birthday present. You can review the show.
And the other thing is we're streaming that first half of Outlawed on Rokfin because we can't do it on YouTube. So you want to go to the free section of Rokfin, sign up for free. You don't have to buy the subscription model, but there are a lot of our friends out there. There's like Propaganda Report and Charlie Robinson and Ricky and all the, like Whitney Webb, all those people are on Rokfin as well. That if you wanted to subscribe, you'd get access to all that. But there's a lot of free content on there as well, and we're streaming for free. Just the first half of Outlawed on there, just so we have a place to do that.
We have 9,000. The Grimerica Show YouTube still only has one strike. If we can make it another 2 months.
No, we don't want to do it.
We'll have no strikes.
Oh, really? They get rid of strikes?
The strikes come off. Outlawed,
but the problem is we self-censored that. I mean, you took things off there so we wouldn't get the strikes.
Well, because we have a couple buddies who they went through their back catalog and toasted them. That's what happened to Jamie Deluxe.
Right. What were you thinking about 9,000 what there?
We're at 9,996 YouTube subscribers.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Just go there to put a big thumbs up, smash that like button, but don't subscribe. Don't get
inevitable.
us to 10,000. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
By the time we get over the intro.
That's gonna take our channel down. As soon as we get to 10K, boom, down.
Whatever. We got Rokfin now.
Yeah.
We move everything over there. It'll be a lot of work though. Anyway. Check out rockfin.com/Grimerica. If you want to sign up for that stuff, sign up.
Audiobooks.
Adultbrain.ca.
Adultbrain.ca is just a landing page. Get the link to the audiobooks. Secret Societies of All Ages and Countries is out, both 1 and 2.
I was once told to use my adult brain. Some of the best advice I ever got. We made adultbrain.ca where you can use your adult brain and read some of the, maybe some of the best books of all time. You know, really, if you look like going back, some of the best esoteric books, we got The Secret Teaching of All Ages, which is still coming out. Russ, coming out soon. Love you, buddy.
Secret Doctrine.
I'll be able to bust his balls physically in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Secret Doctrine to be out any day. Any day now.
Wow, that's crazy.
This week. I'm expecting
that's crazy,
it this week, The Secret Doctrine.
Whatever happened with the God-Man Word Made Flesh?
I'm expecting that this week, too.
Really? Wow, that's been a crazy one. It's been in process for like 6 months.
I'm expecting both the God-Man.
Yeah, it's crazy. They
was
keep
originally
finding weird
submitted
stuff.
last April 8th.
Last April. So it's, oh my God, it's been a year.
It's been almost a year.
Almost a year, yeah.
I did it about a week and a half after I moved in here. It was the first book we ever submitted.
Yeah.
And they forgot about it and then said they didn't. And
that was COVID. That was right smack in the middle of COVID.
But yeah, it's coming out now.
That's an interesting one. That's good. These weird esoteric books, you know, esoteric meaning of the alphabet was interesting too, talking about the...
I half expecting to find more trouble with God, man. That thing had fucking like 39 little 5-minute chapters in it.
Yeah.
And the fucking rules are so specific.
Yeah.
You got a half second to 1 second of blank space before, and then 1 to 5 after. So the ass end is not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
The front end, cutting
tough,
things within a half a second constantly, I
guess they got to have some standards to keep
Adultbrain.ca, baby.
And that esoteric meaning of the alphabet, I mean, talking about the genesis of a lot of the alphabet from around the world seems very similar. It's very strange. It speaks again of like this one civilization that goes back farther than we all think, you know?
Totally.
All right, what do you want to do now? Operation Project or?
You got an oppo?
I do. This is interesting, yeah.
You always think they're interesting though. So I take that with it.
It's very long though. I can't read the whole thing, but
you read some of the longest books ever written.
Yeah.
What's that noise? Looks military to me. Definitely military. Probably classified too.
Dishfire, Prism, Sentry Eagle, Sigma, Mannequin, Artichoke, MK Ultra. Operation Project.
All right, this is. Have you ever heard of Operation Snow White?
I've read Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
So this is.
Does that have something to do with cocaine?
No, that's what I thought too. I was like, I'm going to link to this in the show notes, and I don't know how true this is. This is from Religion Wiki. So it's not quite from Wikipedia, but it's fascinating.
What's religion wiki?
I don't know. It's just probably what it sounds like.
Is that like skeptical wiki? Can we have a grammar wiki?
Sure. So this was the Church of Scientology's name for a conspiracy during the 70s to purge unfavorable records from Scientology and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. You heard about that?
L. Ron Hubbard.
The project included
No.
a series of infiltrations and thefts from 136 government agencies, foreign embassies, and consulates, as well as private organizations critical of Scientology, carried out by church members in more than 30 countries. The single largest infiltration of the United States government in history, with up to 5,000 covert agents. Can this be real? This was also the operation that exposed Operation Freakout, because this was the case that brought the U.S. government into investigation on the church. Wow. I'll do Operation Freakout another time. Under this program, Scientology operatives committed infiltration, wiretapping, and theft of documents in government offices, most notably those in the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. 11 highly placed church executives, including Mary Sue Hubbard, the wife of the founder, and second in command of the organization. She pleaded guilty or were convicted in federal court of obstructing justice, burglary of government offices, and thefts of documents and government property. Oh my God. So they sued her in 1979. Now, the background, as early as in 1960, L. Ron Hubbard had proposed that Scientologists should infiltrate government departments by taking secretarial, bodyguard, or other jobs. And in the early 70s, the Church of Scientology was increasingly scrutinized by U.S. federal agencies, having already been raided by the Food and Drug Administration in 1963. And the IRS claimed it owed millions of dollars in taxes, and the FBI sent agents into the organization. And the church's response involved a publicity campaign, extensive litigation against the IRS, and a program of infiltration of agency offices. And then several years later, in 1973, the Guardian's office began a massive infiltration of governments around the world through the primary target of the operation, though the primary target was the U.S. They infiltrated Interpol. Oh my God, that's crazy, dude.
Did they ever infiltrate
the
it?
FDA, the DEA, the National Institute of Mental Health, American Medical Association, United Nations. This can't be real.
Did they ever infiltrate it?
I don't know.
They're still there.
I mean, it's so crazy, dude. And then, Hubbard was involved in all that like occult stuff with those guys, right? I mean, makes you wonder. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Because
it's like Cruise too.
It's like, I know that's what's weird about it is there's a lot of famous people in there,
Maybe we should get you in.
I don't want to be
Scientologist. Well, you wouldn't actually be. You'd just be in there infiltrating them.
Around this time, Hubbard himself wrote Guardian Order 732, which called for the removal and correction of erroneous Scientology files. It is here that Operation Snow White had its origins. Though the order called for this to be achieved by legal means, this would quickly change. Oh.
Pew pew.
There you have it.
There you have it. I think there might be a no agenda meetup during Stampede.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's. Yeah.
Paul was saying.
Yeah, cool.
You're going to have to give a speech.
Sure.
We should get you an Adam mask. Actually, you seem more like a Dvorak.
I don't know.
But you're a crackpot.
He's a crackpot. Adam's a crackpot.
I know. That's what I mean. We might have to get you a Dvorak mask. Or an Adam mask.
Yeah.
Because you're a crackpot.
Yeah.
Am I a buzzkill, though? I feel like I'm not a buzzkill.
Yeah, you're a buzzkill.
I'm a buzzkill?
Yeah.
Maybe just for you and your UFO searching buddies. That's the only thing I buzzkill on. And your Trump's going to save the world stuff.
I never said that.
I turned out to be right.
I never said that.
By the way.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I told you by your birthday, right? I told you by your birthday. This is the time.
Can I hear you say it then?
You were right.
Yes. T-Bone.
For the most part.
T-Bone or Bill will make a cut of that.
For the most part.
Can you say you were right, Darren?
You were right, Darren.
Woo! Now we're having fun. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a quote or do you want me to do a social media while you get your quote ready?
I got the quote ready here.
You got the quote ready?
Yeah.
He's a pro. I don't have the... I didn't have the quote jingle ready.
Be comment, and or subscribe to the Grimerica newsletter. Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget.
All right, to the YouTubes. We got, this is on the Tartaria trailer, which I think did we already put that in an episode? Did we not put that one in an episode?
Oh, I don't know which one. I'm losing track, dude. I don't know.
I don't think we
which one you
put Tartaria part 1.
I thought you did, maybe.
Best of,
I thought
yeah.
you did, maybe, but
I'll check.
yeah. So, anyways, this is from what, the YouTube? So you're putting those best subs on the YouTube?
I put the best ofs because they're great. The best of, they're the
Yeah.
best part of the shows we do.
Well, it's like a highlight reel or a teaser. Yeah.
The highlight reel. So we give it to you guys in audio form here for free. But I don't think I put episode 4, and I think the last one I did was Gary Wayne.
Yeah. Okay.
Because let me check the date. Let's see what day I got episode 4 from Brady. Shout out to Brady, who does some work for us, doing some fancy effects. I didn't get Ep 4 full until Friday. When did the last show come out? Oh, March 12th. So no, there's no way it's come out yet. Like 3 days ago. So no. So we'll put the trailer in for this comment. We'll put the trailer in for episode 4, which is Tartaria in the Americas with Flavortown and Amuru. And we'll put part 1 in this episode.
Okay.
Then next week we'll put in Hyperborea, and then the week after that we'll do part 2 of this episode.
Okay.
So here's a comment on part 1 by Two Men Standing Still Productions. Okay. Though some of what these guys come out with is certainly interesting, some of it is also true. Tartaria wasn't an empire. In fact, the area of Tartaria was still part of Russia until the formation of the Soviet Union. Yes, there was travel across the ocean in ancient times. It's well established that Egyptian warships were incredibly well built and armored, which made them well equipped for ocean travel, which the Greeks and Romans copied. Roman amphora and shipwrecks have been found off the coast of Brazil, and traces of cocaine, cannabis, and tobacco have been found in Egyptian mummies. These plants weren't native to Egypt and could have only have come from the Americas. The history of Britain is also very well established, and with plenty of evidence through tapestry, art, cave art, castles, and books. One of our oldest books, the Doomsday Books, dates from the 11th century, and our kings before and after King William's victory at Hastings in 1066 are well documented. In fact, within 30 miles of where I live are countless Roman bathhouse ruins, forts and castles, abbeys, etc., dating from various times in history. Though these guys have some interesting and ideas and theories, they've not fully researched Tartaria enough. Otherwise, they would have found this out. The Tartar region was a Russian province and actually consisted of the northern Baltic regions when Crimea and specifically St. Petersburg was still the capital of Russia.
Yeah, but that's not.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, yeah, that's not the real point. But thank you for that comment.
Is this where tartar sauce originated from?
I mean, we know it's well established. That's the point, right? This is well established. That he's talking about the well established narrative.
FYI, Grimerica, my friend April just got kicked off of YouTube for uploading the No Agenda show, which she does as a courtesy. Just a heads up. What do we got? The beard is epic. People love your beard, buddy.
Oh,
You have to just grow it long like a shaman. Fantastic, fantastic conversation. I agree with Darren. The true epidemic, hearts need healing. All right, I think that's good, eh?
yeah. Let's do the quote.
The quote. I was supposed to be getting ready for the quote while I was doing all that reading, but I wasn't quite. I think I got you, though.
Oh, this is perfect. I got a perfect quote.
Perfect? You have the perfect quote?
Yeah.
It's the profound quote of the week.
crow.
I had a trip, dude. Darren just showed me something where that jingle was going on. Okay, here's the quote. Ready? It took me 40 years on earth to reach this sure conclusion. There is no heaven but clarity. There is no hell except confusion. 40 years.
Amika Swami.
No, it's Jan Struther. But it's 40 years for your 40 year, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
Yep.
Are you going to tell people at the synchro?
No.
No? Even though I coughed and said
Okay,
Russ.
yeah, say it, sure.
So I coughed and said Russ because Russ has been kind enough to do the secret teaching notes for us.
Darren was talking about the audiobooks a little while
Yeah.
back, just for context.
And we're waiting for the last file or two from Russ to finish up the edit. And he just texted about 2 minutes after I said that, text and said that he had just uploaded another file and he's only got about 40 pages of footnotes left.
Thanks, Russ.
That book might hit 50 hours.
Yeah. That's
Gonna be
long
close.
one. Yeah.
All right. That it?
Yeah, that's it, buddy.
Enjoy these little best of, a little highlight reel with Flavortown, longtime Grimerican. First time I met Amuru, but I have known Flavortown for a long, long time. Flavortown's actually coming to Utah with us. He's in charge of the CAC.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing a lot of him over the next couple of months too. Oh, what an exciting spring.
Yeah.
All right, guys, enjoy the chat or enjoy the teaser and then enjoy the chat with Lisa O'Hara.
So, I mean, at this point, I think we're at the point, where there's enough questions that we can start getting actual boots on the ground and getting people to hopefully get out there, learn more about this, go to your own area where you live, because a lot of this research, you'd be surprised. A lot of weird historical inaccuracies you can find in your own hometown or the town you live in. And that's a great place to start. And then you get into communication with other people and they start connecting the dots. And then next thing you know, we're one step closer. What the mainstream says is Tartaria was a loose association of nomadic tribes that all banded together and kind of had this agreement, I guess. It wasn't really, they say it wasn't really a government. It didn't really have a leader. It was just, the steppes, which, is central, basically from the Black Sea, Balkan area, all the way through to Siberia, essentially. So one of the largest, if not the largest, continuous landmass on the planet was inhabited by, according to the mainstream, just a bunch of dudes on horses drinking milk.
One of the unique things you can find about North America is the United States of America claims that aside from teepees, no one was here first. We were here first. And that's a narrative that has constantly been shown to be false.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of this. Oh, here's the one I was talking about. So you have Russian Tartary in Siberia up here in the north. Then you have an independent Tartary here in the center. And to the east, you have Chinese Tartary. So three pretty distinct. And you can see here the rest of the countries are filled out. And, all of these countries have flags. They have leaders. I mean, Persia, Arabia, all these places are distinct civilizations. So to say that they're just this loosely associated group of
Nomads.
Mongols
Yeah.
is ridiculous. It's not. There's no precedent for it, and the major issue is that there's plenty of evidence of this. You can go and you find books previous to 1850. There are books that are discussing Tartary as if it is a civilization, as if they're a race of people.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing crazy in there. I mean, let's put it this way. We're not talking about
Atlantis.
Free energy, flying around. Everything was amazing. Utopia, steampunk, Tartary here. I just want to make that clear to everyone that there is a distinction in this research where people are very quick to jump straight to, okay, they were a civilization. They were wiped off the map, because they were. I mean, they were literally wiped off the map. Like, there are just no maps depicting Tartary anymore. They were literally wiped off the map. So obviously, they were a utopian, perfect, free energy civilization that had everything figured out, and we killed all of them. The first event happened sometime around there, because that's when the forging of historical relics really took off. That's when all of these monks were in their monasteries and their abbeys getting paid to crank out pagan manuscripts, just like Roman, like they're taking Plato. Like here, okay, so here you have 1500s, you're in France, you're a young and upcoming monk, and the way you make money for your abbey is you sit around all day and you hand copy onto pieces of cowskin a pagan document written by a Roman historian from 1500 years ago that is based off of a few fragments, maybe. I don't know what they actually had. We've never seen the primary sources of a lot of where these manuscripts come from. And you have that explode in the beginning of the 1500s, or late 1400s, early 1500s. So there was an attempt to flood the zone, if you will, with forged or, repurposed, manuscripted history.
If we can piece together this block of history wherein we might have seen travel through these regions, it would force a rewrite of that block of history, even a bit, because you guys, I'm sure you're familiar with the old idea that the oceans are barriers, when in fact, thanks to recent research and points, and even a couple books, and live tests, the 4 Scotsmen made a rawhide boat and came to America in it in 4 days. The oceans are highways. And so for that to not be true of the ancient world, there's a hidden connection there.
But boats would obviously be the superior way of transportation. And I believe that they did send a large group of these warriors, these Mongols, whatever you want to call them, the Golden Horde type people. They went to America and they landed in the Pacific Northwest and in, where, Canada and Alaska and all those areas, and really I think concentrated in San Francisco, and where San Francisco and Seattle are now. So we have a region on maps called Fusang. This is what some have called a Chinese settlement that has existed from about 500 AD on, and there are multiple maps that show Fusang as a settlement, obviously sounding very Chinese. It says right here, Chinese colony. This is, where is this? This would be Seattle would be, right? Approximately.
In the Puget Sound kind of thing up there?
You'd have to zoom out, but yeah.
There's an even larger, here it is, pretty big, pretty well labeled. Yeah. Pretty well labeled on the map. It's not a small area.
So the Wiggers, and I'll say it properly because I'm not afraid. The Wiggers were very loosely associated with the Khan all through history. You can read the biggest books by the biggest names of the day. It was a 12th century missive sent to the Khan so that he didn't march his horde down through China, and the Wiggers delivered the messages. They were the emissaries.
Wow.
As local peoples. And the Khan liked the symbols on the seal and pendant and on the letters so much, he made the Wiggers teach it to his people. And so this is the origin of the Mongolian language. So until very, very recently, and from the outset, you could say the Wiggers have been a a prominent feature in the entire idea of Tartaria.
Wow.
Yeah. This is a very, very large statue. And you can see it's also built on a sort of pyramid.
Oh, yeah, right.
So this is a very
I mean,
unique...
look at how large that is.
Where is this?
Volgograd.
This is
in Russia?
Mamayev Kurvin. So this is a battle memorial for the Battle of Volgograd, or I believe it's St. Petersburg.
Is that sword like 200 feet long? How long is the sword?
It's huge. It is ridiculously huge.
Well, look at the people on the path over there. They don't even match the base of the thing.
Right.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. The sword's got to be close to 100 feet.
There's a book that I found called The Young Folks' History of Russia. And this was written in 1881. And it's just like it's basically a storybook for kids, or like a basic history kind of book. And it tells the story of Mamai Khan. So Mamai Khan was a general in the Golden Horde army. He fought against the Christians in 1380. But the Mamai Khan was, in this story, standing on an ancient burial ground in this area, because Mamayev Kurgan is the name of this area. It is based off Mamayev Kurgan. As we said, Kurgan was the burial mound. So Mamayev Kurgan means the kurgan of Mamayev, right? So that's the name of this hill that they fought this battle on. That hill is where that statue is now. So they built the motherland statue on top of the kurgan of Mamai.
Wow.
It is the finest example locally of iconoclasm. We're going to build our monument on top of your monument.
Because in the wake of a natural disaster, you can go in and you can rewrite history. And then you have, of course, the conflicts of the Civil War in the United States. You also have, at the same time, the Crimean War between the French and the Russians. You have many global conflicts that lead up until World War I, World War II. So that's the second stage. That's also the rise of the oligarchs and the oil oligarchs and the bankers and basically the people that created this current society. That previous 100 years of cataclysm and strife and destruction and repurposing led to these people showing up and creating the new society through the World's Fairs and the expositions and these massive displays of out with the old, in with the new.
All right, tonight we've got Lisa O Hara with us, author of Abducted and Furious. It's funny, before we started recording here, I was thinking, can I say she's a experiencer or an abductee or a contactee? So I thought, well, maybe we'll let her explain if there's a label that people like to put on this and what she thinks about that. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And I did read your book and I thought it was great. I thought it was, there's some, I'll talk about it in a bit. There's some synchronicities I had with a few parts of it, which it's just so weird when I'm driving, listening to your book. I've got it in a voice stream, like a reader, and just hearing stuff that it just made me think about synchronicities I had in a UFO conference with Moldavite, for example, or other stuff. So we'll get into that a little later as appropriate. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with why you decided to basically push back against all this and finally write the book?
Sure. And also I wanted to say that I consider myself an abductee and also an experiencer.
Okay.
There is a difference. Apparently the contactees apparently enjoy being contacted,
right,
and they enjoy meeting their hybrid children, and they, have, it's a positive experience for them.
Yeah.
I think there are experiencers that just have experiences, and I don't know if they consider themselves considered in a negative light. I think abductee gives that impression and feeling of, negativity.
Yeah.
Because it's a thing that happens that we are not either aware of, or also it's against our will. So That's why I use that word.
Yeah, yeah. But you mentioned that in your book that it's hard to find, like you don't seem to be able to find a lot of people that are having the negative experiences now. It seems like people are
True.
You're calling them positive.
Yes, and I think it's just because there's such a stigma of people who are abducted or even have any UFO experiences, because unfortunately it's sort of taboo. If you do talk about it, then everyone sort of slowly drifts away from you at a party. They think you will wear the tinfoil hats or whatever, and you might try it. What the heck, you have nothing to lose. But there's just a negativity that surrounds it. So you don't want to admit it to anyone. And if you do, you want to admit it when you're at a UFO conference. But right now, of course, terrible timing for me with my book, when I decided to self-publish it was in February of 2020. And unfortunately, now everything's closed down. So I can't even meet my people. The closest I can come is being on these podcasts, because everyone I meet seems to have a paranormal experience. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a podcast or a radio show.
Yeah.
So I actually am meeting my people, but not the way I thought I would.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think there's pressure on people, or that they even put on themselves, to try and make their experiences be positive? Because, I mean, it's such a weird community, because there's the whole UFO Stephen Greer contact thing, which is very, he thinks that everything's positive. And then you've got I guess in the past it was David Jacobs and all these people and it's sort of really the negative aspect, and it seems very polarized. So do you think people are pressuring it to make it positive?
Actually, I don't know, but one of the things I do think is that it's in the ET or the people who are doing their experiments on us. I really believe that it's in their best interest to have divide and conquer. If you have two people and they're fighting each other about whether or not it's positive or negative, then you have control. So that's actually what I think about it.
And your book really made me think about free will as well, and you just sort of mentioned it. I mean, it seems like if you were to take all of your experiences at face value, and there's something very strange going on, and it feels like we don't have free will. I mean, people are doing things to us, whether it's subconsciously or during the night or whatever, that you kind of had to tease it out, like tease your free will out of this, it seems.
Right, exactly. Well, I think anger is a powerful motivator. And I think, and initially, you feel a lot of fear, because these are things that A, you never knew about, and B, you feel hopeless and helpless to do anything about. So I just got mad, because I thought, how dare you do this to me? How dare you? So that's what started it out. And and I decided to take back my free will, because I think a lot of people, in these sort of spiritual realm or spiritual groups think, oh, well, all you have to do is demand it. And you just have to say no, but it's not really that simple. And so I just got angry, and I tried everything. I left no stone unturned, and continued until I found something that worked for me.
Can we get into that later?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I do want to ask you whether that'll work for other spiritual maladies, like whether it's sort of demonic stuff or incubus or shadow man attacks, that kind of thing. I feel like you're onto something that might help other types of
I believe so, and I hope somebody who tries it for themselves will let me know, because, like I said, it's hard to find people who would admit to almost anything. I mean, ET abduction is probably the least of it, but demonic incubus or whatever, they're not going to want to admit to that. But yeah, I do think it will work, because it's worked for me on many levels. When I wrote this book, I wrote it because of what was happening to me, mostly in the present. And now that I'm away from it for a year, and it's only taken a year, I can see when I read the book, because I've changed so much and my experiences have changed so much. And every time I think I know which direction I'm going, I make a left turn. But when I reread my book to see where I was to have these shows, I can really say, oh, I know what's happening there. I know what's happening there. Oh, so things have changed. They've gotten a lot better. So yes, I think that could help for a lot of people. But I think also there's a mindset of, oh, this is good, or this is spiritual and I just throw some love at it. If I throw, I feel like it's all about oneness and unity and we shouldn't fight it. I don't know. It depends on their mindset, right? If they think that they just need to throw love at it, then it might not work for them.
And that kind of gets into the soul contract type thing where people think they're here. Like they made this decision before, they've agreed to this, they've agreed to be taken and abused for whatever higher good or something like that. And you kind of don't really agree with that, right?
I don't. And I think anyone who looks at it in that way can think to themselves, what? I wouldn't agree to that. I mean, thinking of who we are. And I really think that's a way of blaming us for something that we didn't agree to.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, oh, you agreed to this. This was, before you were born, you agreed to learn all these lessons. And, so you can feel like you agreed to it. And so there's nothing you can do now. And so I think that we can do something about it, but it just feels like we can't.
Do you want to get into your experiences, or do you want to get into the solution? Start with some of your experiences or your story.
Let's start kind of in the beginning. So early on, about 2012, I was having these weird experiences, and I'd had them throughout my life too, where when I met someone, after I'd been friends with them for a little while, I would kind of know when they were going to die, for instance, or that something catastrophic was going to happen. And I don't have that in the book, but someone recently reminded me of this, so I thought I better say it too. And so, I would try to take a picture or try to spend time with them. And then I would just have other strange experiences like that. So you can't really put a label on that, because what is that, Or I would have, as a little kid, I would have a daydream, and I would have it every night, at night, not during the day, but at night, I would have a daydream. And then after a week, it would come true, the exact scenario that I saw. So that happened multiple times. But again, it's not a thing that you can say that's ESP or, that's premonition, or, there was just no real label for it. So, throughout my life, I would have the prophetic dreams, but I'd only have one. Or I would, when I was in high school, right before I moved around a lot as a kid. And when I was 16, I was having this daydream that I was going to move to a foreign country. And I was thinking, oh no, that's like my worst nightmare, because I had just gotten to this high school and I wanted to stay there as long as possible. And I didn't want to move in the middle of it, which was my life, to move almost every year, every 2 years. So then I didn't, that happened, that came true. So there's just no, rhyme or reason to these things. So about 2012, I started to wonder try to label myself, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but I was reading a book about how to tell if you were a medium. And some of these things, they sort of sounded kind of vague, kind of like horoscopes, where you say to yourself, oh, that could be me. It's kind of vague. And so I actually thought in my own head, and I didn't say this out loud, I don't know, I don't think I'm a medium. And I started hearing knocking on the wall, like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. So don't give up on this. So I started meditating, and I talked to my spirit guide. I asked for my spirit guide's name. They said they didn't have names and they didn't have genders, but I told them I needed a name. And so they told me that their name was Koreg, Koreg. So I started talking to Koreg, and I was like, what am I? And what is my purpose here? And Koreg said, you're a beacon of light. And so I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what in the heck? What does beacon of light mean? But of course, they don't tell you usually. They just give you that bit of information. That's what you ask for, but they won't tell you what it means. So then I kept, trying to figure out what I was. And then I found out that there was a woman who was going to the same hair salon as I was, and she was a medium. And so I scheduled an appointment with her, and she said, you're just like me, you're a medium. So after finding that out, I worked with her a while, because I thought, well, maybe that's what my purpose is. Maybe my beacon of light is actually to talk to other people who were trying to connect to their relatives on the other side. And I spent some time on it. And one of the things that happened to me, which I thought was pretty interesting, was that initially I was thinking to myself, here I am, I feel I can see myself with clients, and I can see, so every day I would think of myself seeing clients. And then one day I felt like I wasn't going to see clients, and that really wasn't my path. So I went back to my medium and I said, I'm starting to feel like this isn't my path anymore. And she said, yeah, it's because you have a choice right now. You have a crossroads. You can either go to the mediumship or you can go to the unknown. And at that point, I knew I was going to the unknown because the mediumship wasn't for me at that time. And I wanted to do a shout out to all mediums. Oh my gosh, that is the hardest job ever. You have to say what you hear and trust that what you hear is actually true. And, it's really, really hard. It's a hard job. And you have to connect to them. It's sort of like being on on an elevator where, like the old fashioned elevators where they might go down and maybe not be on the right floor, kind of a little up higher. So that's how you have to connect to the spirits that way. And it's really difficult. So at that point, she said, it'll be something, you'll go someplace else. And I said, okay, but I didn't know where we were going. And so I continued on with my meditation and deciding to go another direction. And one night I was in bed, I was meditating, and I felt this incredibly negative presence in my room. And I said to my spirit guide, Korek, what's that incredibly horrible feeling of negativity in my room? And he said, oh, that's the ETs. They stole all your eggs, and that's why you don't have children. They're here to take you right now. And I was totally blown away by that. I was that was the last thing I expected to hear. And I also was really frightened, really, really scared. So I then immediately, tried to stay awake as long as I could. And then, of course, fell asleep. And I told my husband, and he was like, all right, that doesn't exist. Well, but actually, him saying that kind of made me feel better. It made me feel a little bit like, okay, he says it's not true. And I feel better feeling like it's not true. And so right now I'm just going to go with that and kind of like get used to this a little at a time. And so I did do that. And at some point, I thought, how can I fix this? I mean, I don't really like this, and I'm not happy with the situation. So that's when I started going to the medium and saying, okay, this is what's happening to me. Let's figure out what to do next. And so that's how we got into the soul contracts. She tried to help me break soul contracts. She had me, putting out salt, washing with salt. She had me clearing my Akashic records, and that's some sort of large database that they have with all your experiences. I did that. She had me using a manifesto before I went to bed, demanding my right to free will, demanding help, try to help me break that I am not going and I'm not doing anything that they say and that kind of thing. After a while, I realized this is not working at all. And in the meantime, I kept searching around on the web for things that other people had done. And I tried all those things too, because you never know. You never know what's going to work. Well, a little bit prior to that, she had taught a couple of classes on healing. And so she taught an angelic healing class where you actually put your hands on people. And she also taught one called Lahochi. And Lahochi is interesting in that you can heal people, but you can also heal yourself. So being a all-in girl as I am, I started Googling all kinds of different healing techniques and healing books. And I found some on the web, on Amazon. And I bought them all. There was this guy named Stuart Swerdlow, and he wrote a bunch of healing books. So I just bought all of his books. And I started looking at them a little bit, but I just felt like they were over my head. So while I was trying all of these things, trying to figure out what to do about these ETs, my spirit guide, Korek, actually pointed me back to those healing books. which didn't make sense to me at the time, but I thought, whatever, I have nothing to lose. I've tried everything else. So I started reading them, and they made sense this time. I essentially just started trying out different techniques that he has in his books and trying them out, looking at my situation and trying to use some of his tools. Now, in the meantime, I was also reading everybody else's books. So anyone else who's had a contactee experience, I wanted to read their book because I felt like my situation is pretty weird, but if I read these books from everyone else, Whitley Strieber, anyone else I can find that has an interesting book, I can find clues to my own situation. So one of the reasons I started doing that was because I noticed that when, I started having this weird problem with my clothes having a weird smell. So, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I am, kind of a logic person too. So that's why I started, trying to figure out what was going on. So at first I noticed my clothes really smelled, and I sometimes keep my clothes on the counter in my bathroom, when I take them off after being out, and then also when I put them there to put them back on the next day. So I noticed they really smelled bad. They smelled like BO and feet. And I thought, this is really weird. So I threw them all into the hamper because every single one smelled. And then I washed them and I left them where my husband folds them in the laundry room. And the next day they smelled again. And I thought, how weird. This is the strangest thing. So I thought, well, maybe I didn't put enough laundry detergent in. So I threw them all back in there. I took them out the next day. They smelled fine. I put them in my closet, and all the ones in my closet smelled okay. And I kept doing that. And so after a while, I noticed that some clothes smelled, some clothes didn't. So then for a while, I thought it was my laundry. I have 2 cats. Maybe it's the cat box, So, and then I noticed that sometimes they smelled like that coming out of the dryer. And other times they were actually folded up and they smelled like that. So one day, I finally, after all of this time smelling my clothes and trying to figure out if they smelled okay, I smelled up my clothes. I put them on the counter to go to bed. The next day, they smelled. So to me, that meant I left in those clothes. And I actually had a dream that night that I was wearing those clothes when I was somewhere else. So because of this, I thought, this is a clue. And there are things I know about this situation. Now, so that started me on this whole thing of I need to write all this stuff down. I need to know what's happening to me before I leave. So first, I wrote down about the clothes, and then I started every night paying attention to what happened to me prior to abduction. And of course, I did try all those other things of putting out cameras. I tried the camera thing where you put the camera out and it doesn't work. Or in my case, I was using one of those kind of like picture frame cameras where it has a fake picture on it. And I would turn it on and it's motion censored. And then I'd go to sleep. And then the next day it would be in between on and off. So it wasn't off and it wasn't on, but it didn't record anything. So I tried, a lot of things, but trying to nail down all these little things I did know. So one of the things I knew was that I actually was leaving. And then that started me on a thing where I just wrote down every piece of data that I could. So I have on my ceiling, or I have a projector clock that projects the time on the ceiling in red letters, red numbers. And I just would write down anytime I heard anything, anytime I saw anything. And so, I started noticing that on the 6th and the 7th of the month and other times, but a lot of times on those nights, I would have 2 low-flying planes and a helicopter go over my house. And it happened no matter where I was. Even if I was in California, in Lake Tahoe, that would happen. And so I just started writing everything down. I noticed if I felt what I call a sleep dart now, because I had to keep changing the name because I was trying to figure out what it was. But basically, it feels like a mosquito bite. So I knew as soon as I was hit by the mosquito bite, I would fall asleep. I spent a lot of time and early on just trying to stay awake and trying to fight them by not going to sleep. But I found that as soon as I fell asleep, it was all over.
So you were this. So this was happening ever since 2012 when it first happened to you. Then you first realized it, and then it kept happening.
I'm pretty sure it's happened my whole life. Actually,
Right,
it was just I found out about it in 2017.
Right.
So anyway, I just started writing everything down. Now, initially, I was really just afraid to go to sleep, and I was trying to fight them that way. But I realized I really needed to turn the tables on them, and I needed to make them my guinea pig, because if they're leaving those kind of clues behind where my clothes smell, and sometimes they're folded up, and so whatever, there are other clues that I don't know about. So if I were smart, I would actually start writing down everything I could remember, anything I saw, and write it down. And when I woke up from coming back from an abduction, then I could write all that stuff down, anything I remembered. And then when I found the tools, I started using the tools against them to kind of piece together this puzzle of what was happening to me. And so that's then later I read a book by Terry Lovelace, who wrote Incident at Devil's Den. And he encouraged me to write to him, or he encouraged people in the back of his book to write to him. And I did. He encouraged me to write this book. And so I thought, why not? I should, because if I'm not willing to speak out, how can I expect anyone else to speak out? So anyway, that's a lot of my story.
You mentioned lots of questions. You mentioned in there about, you think it could be, because this is really the big question, is it whether it's Milabs or ETs, or like you mentioned, secret space program kind of stuff in there as well. And you think it's a bit of everything, which I tend to agree that a lot of these things are a whole bunch of, the answers are very varied. So how do you know, like, how can you tell the difference, or how did you discern the difference between what you were seeing or what you were experiencing?
Meaning whether it was people or not?
Yeah, I guess like how the secret space program fits in, how the Milabs fit in. Are they working directly with the ETs? Is it all of them together? Are they separate events? Like,
I actually think that it's about all three of those. I think there's a lot of ET involvement that's just separate, and then I think there's ETs and people working together, and then I think there's military. And one of the things that kept happening to me, and I read this in the Milab's book, was that they give people something to drink. And one of the things that I kept finding, and I brush my teeth before I go to bed, and I wear a night guard, so I don't grind my teeth. I kept finding plaque on my teeth when I woke up the next day. And I just thought, this is the weirdest thing. I'm eating something. Now, I don't know what it is, but I kept finding plaque. I also would see people. Sometimes I would actually see people come into my room, and I would see them having some sort of like little square, and it would be a square, and it would be right over their hand like this, a square, and it would they would somehow make me fall asleep. The other thing too was early on I did see a praying mantis, not a gray, but I saw two praying mantises. And one of them seemed more female, and they were trying to convince me to go on their ship, because I had cut my leg on a recycle bin, a standing one. And it all of a sudden started throbbing while I was laying in my bed. And I was trying to figure out what that was all about when I suddenly saw this 7-foot tall praying mantis standing by my bed, and either she was talking to me telepathically or with her mouth, I'm not sure because it was dark. And she was saying, my name is Moma, and I'm come to help you, to take you to my ship, and you just have to agree to it. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm not agreeing to that. That's when I realized, oh my gosh, I have implants, and I must have damaged one, and now they want to fix it. So I did end up, being taken by her in the middle of the night, because the next day my leg didn't hurt at all. So I knew that it was fixed. Then there was another time when I saw a male praying mantis, as it seemed, because who knows if they are gendered, but I guess they are. We know that they are as insects here, but that guy strode into my room. He pointed at me, actually smacked me on my lady parts with like a spoon or a tuning fork. It made me vibrate all over. And then he just pointed at me. And then I fell asleep immediately.
Wow.
So I do think that there are people involved. I don't know what all of the things are. When I've used my tools and looked back on my dreams, I have been able to see all kinds of different insects, and so spiders and praying mantis and beetles and people, and and reptiles, reptilians. So I've seen so many things, and I just have no idea who's working with who. But it just seems like there's a lot of torture, there's a lot of experimentation, and a lot of things that we really don't even have a clue about. And it's really scary.
Is it scary every time? Like, is it an ongoing thing, or is this something you dread?
I used to dread it. Now I don't, because I'm turning the tables on them. But for a very long time, I was very frightened. And now I'm just, using it as, I think I just got desensitized, or not desensitized, but, you're like, okay, you pulled my eye out, you're squeezing it, I don't know why you're doing that, but I'm not fearful like I used to be.
Is it always at night?
Yes, it is, but I have been taken out of my car about 3 times so far now. I don't know how that happens. It feels like time is bent in some way, or maybe there's a gash in time and they take me out and then put me back. Because, I actually put this in the book, but there are at least 2 times while I'm sitting at a light and I'm waiting for it to change, and then I'm gone. And then I come back. And when I come back, now right before I left, the light just changed. But when I get back to my car, it hasn't changed. So then I start to move forward, realizing kind of a little bit late that it hasn't changed yet for the people who, are sitting next to the light with me. The other thing is I was recently taken out of my car while I was merging on the freeway. So I drive a stick shift, FYI. So I was in 3rd gear, I was about to go to 4th gear, and suddenly I was gone. And when I came back, I was just sort of like on the right side of the road, but not merging. And I was just, everybody around me was like, let's get away from this lady. She's just hanging around on the edge and she's not doing anything. So that's what happens. I get really mad when that happens because it's so dangerous. I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I don't appreciate it. So
you mentioned in your book, The Psychic Warrior by David Morehouse. And I remember my dad had that book. I think my sister actually gave it to my dad. I was just talking to my sister about it. But I remember listening to that on audio, and it was just a cool memory of how open my dad was to all this kind of stuff. But
did you have experiences too?
No, he didn't. No, he just liked learning about all kinds of crazy stuff. But he did get. I gave him a crystal from a healer when he was in hospice.
Wow.
And he got out of hospice for like 6 months. So very similar to your story with your dad. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. You gave your dad a crystal skull, I think, right? Or something. Yeah. And then he got better for a while too. I mean, my dad got better for like 6 months, and then it finally took him down. But it was interesting that this crystal that was apparently powered up by, I met the Korean healer that did it, but it seemed to make a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that amazing? I mean, when the crystal skulls started telling me, which is weird because you're hearing voices, but when they said, anytime you're on your computer, because when I was writing my book, I would feel sometimes blocked. She said, just put some crystal skulls in front of your screen, and it should take away all that negative energy. And I'll be darned, it really worked.
Nice. I had a Moldavite synchronicity too at the 2013 UFO Congress. I was volunteering there, and I met this guy. We were talking back and forth, and we had both been to the same shop in Sedona. It was like one of my favorite sort of spiritual kind of new agey shops with a bunch of crystals and all kinds of stuff. And this lady behind the counter, did I tell you that? Have you heard this before?
Oh, I'm sure I've heard this story. Yeah.
The lady behind the counter had these bracelets that she says are from Atlantis. Like they're these Atlantean bracelets. And I bought this Moldavite rock from there and I had it in my pocket at the time. And I think I bought the book, the Moldavite book too, that one that was published 15 years ago or whatever. And the guy I was talking to said, I went to that same store and I saw those same bracelets. And then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a stone that looks exactly like mine. Like we both had these Moldavite things in our pocket, and after being at the same store on the same day, looking at the same bracelets. Yeah, it's kind of
that is wild.
Yeah, that was fun.
So did you buy just one of those flat rocks, or was it round? Or?
Yeah, it was round but flat. But they break on me. I've broken like 3 or 4 Moldavite stones for some reason.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. Not a lot of other crystals break, but those ones seem to just break. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, they seem kind of thin too, and they're kind of glass. So
how does remote viewing play into this? Because you've got a really interesting take on that. Like did you see something while you were, did you notice somebody see you while you were remote viewing, and then you started putting that into the bigger picture as like people around that are remote viewing?
Well, what happened was first I heard about or what happens with me, and I don't know about you, but I'll read a book, and if they mention a bunch of books, then I look up all those books to see if I'm interested in them, and then I read them. So whatever book I was reading mentioned a psychic warrior. So I thought, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I read it, and then I was interested in remote viewing as a thing to do. Maybe it would open up my, more of my psychicness. Maybe I would understand, more things that were going on. So I took a couple of his classes. Now, initially it started out with this one company called Sounds True. And then I guess he broke from them and maybe started his own company. I can't remember. But anyway, so I went to that and I tried it. It wasn't too expensive. It was like $79. I tried it. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to try his actual, because it only had the first 6 classes or something like that. And so it wasn't complete. So then I went to davidmorehouse.com and I, went through the classes again. And I was on one of my exercises because he has a lot of exercises. He has music where you listen to the music to get your mind kind of in the right space. And then I had one of these weird experiences where first I smelled lavender and I thought, well, that could be me. I mean, I could be smelling lavender. Maybe it's my deodorant, So then the next time I tried it, and the way you do it is you listen to this music and then they give you coordinates, like actual coordinates on a map or numbers of some type that they've associated with a certain picture. And what you do is, and this is called coordinate remote viewing, then you draw a little line, like a little line like that. And when you do that later, you're feeling along the line with your pen to determine what you see in your mind. And so I was doing that, and this was the second time. So I'd already smelled the lavender, and I thought it was my imagination. But this time, it actually happened that I saw it was like I switched rooms. It was really the strangest experience ever. That's when I knew it was really real. So suddenly I was in a room. I could see I was sitting in front of a computer, and there were all these CRTs. Right now, everyone has flat screens, right? So they have no idea what a CRT is. But it's a, boxy kind of, it's a monitor with a giant back. And so I was obviously in some sort of place that had computers all around. There were men all around me. They were wearing, casual business clothes, like a white shirt and khaki pants sort of thing. And they were drinking coffee. Now, I don't drink coffee, and my husband doesn't drink coffee. So I knew that was not my imagination. And so then it ended, and I just thought that is the weirdest thing ever. But I was, into all my other things too. So later I also did, extended remote viewing, which is with the same David Morehouse, website. And this one is a little more freeform. It's not as structured. The thing about coordinate remote viewing is they make you go through all these steps, sort of like you put your name on the paper and then the date, and then next you do this and this, step by step linearly, which is okay. I'm a linear person too. But the second one, extended, is a little bit more freeform, I guess, what you would call. So I followed all the instructions, but I ended up somewhere else. But it was okay, the first time I did it. The second time I did it, now when you use extended remote viewing, and it's more freeform, you actually are using a mask over your eyes so that to drown out all of your distractions. In this case, I was looking around trying to figure out where I was going, and I felt somebody in the room with me, and they touched my eye over my mask, and then it was black, and that really scared me. But so after these experiences, then I realized, and sorry, I forgot about this. In my first experience with coordinate remote viewing, the reason I left that experience and I didn't go back to it right away was because as soon as I realized that I was in that room with all the CRTs and all the people and the coffee, I heard, "Oh, there you are." And then I started hearing things, popping, cracking, thunking. And I felt like I was being plagued by remote viewers, like they had been looking for me. And they found me because I, stumbled across them. And now they were hounding me in my own house, constantly popping, cracking, and thunking. And it was really annoying. I mean, it was like I was being hounded in my own house, followed from room to room. And, when you start noticing, these noises, sometimes you can explain it away and say, "Oh, it's the house settling," or, "Oh, that was, the sun hitting the glass. And that is just, or it's your imagination, or I don't hear anything." And it suddenly made me think, oh my gosh, is this what my cats are seeing? Because I don't know if you have cats or dogs, but they all of a sudden go, when they see something and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Well, I started to wonder, is that what they're seeing? Are they seeing remote viewers? So I just started really looking at that. And then when I started using my tools, I started realizing that because a lot of remote viewing is using your mind to look out at these coordinates, and also, however the extended remote viewing works, why not use this whole same thing to look in your own mind for what's happening to you after a memory wipe or before? And so that's what gave me the idea.
So is that a part of how you figured out did you use your tools to figure that out, or did that help you figure out how to deal with this whole thing in general? Was that part of it?
I think having the remote viewing experience really helped me understand what I could use my mind for rather than, just wondering. But also it seemed to open my mind up in other ways. And it just really opened me up a little bit. And so as much as how scary it was for me to realize that I had been found by somebody, and it kind of scared me, it also made me think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have so many interesting ideas now that my mind is opened up to the possibility of this.
Yeah.
Do you do much remote viewing since then? Or does it become like a tool in your thing? Or are you like a remote viewing person now? You get a few minutes. I don't know that I can't remote view, so I don't know. Is it like something you can do in 10 minutes, or is there
you could if you tried.
If you're good at it, I could just
I'm terrible at it too. I've taken a couple courses and I'm terrible. I'm terrible. But we have friends that do it on their podcast and they get hits all the time. So
yeah. I think, I don't know, I need to go back to it. I haven't, because I've been still, fighting with the ETs, because I used to get abducted 4 times a night. And those are the ones I knew about. So I don't really know how many that was, really. But now it's a lot less. And one of the reasons, and I didn't explain this very well, but I read Whitley Strieber's Communion book. And one of the things that he talks about, which really struck me, and this is why it's important, everyone who's trying to figure out your own situation, is I realized that he said the screen. Now, Oh, before that, your memory is wiped. So anytime you come back, your memory is wiped. And I used to remember a little black rectangle. That's all I could remember. And I always considered that as a part of my memory wipe. So what happens is, so I always thought, well, how can you do anything with that? Because you don't know what happened prior. Well, Whitley Strieber said that the dreams that you have are screen memories, and the screen memories are created by your own mind to protect you from whatever trauma you had dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can think of it like that, and you can also look at remote viewing, then you can also then extrapolate, well, if this is a screen memory that my mind gave me to protect me, I can then use the tools that I found to look behind the screen memory and find out what's really happening before the memory wipe.
Right.
So that's what I started doing. And that's how I pieced together everything that was happening to me. And that's how I started fighting back.
Wow. Yeah. I thought there was a connection there. So let's talk about the fighting back then, because you mentioned in some of the solutions, supposed solutions to demonic attacks and incubus and shadow people, all that is like in the name of Jesus kind of thing, right? You can say like, I leave me alone in the name of Jesus, or whatever that phrase would be. Can't think of it off the top of my head.
Baby Jesus.
But you mentioned Yahweh in your book too, like more of the ancient sort of deity in a way, like the God of all gods maybe, or something. But what was that part of your? So I got a few questions on it. Like you tried the Jesus thing, I think, didn't you? And it didn't really didn't really work. What about the Yahweh thing, and then the silent part? Like you mentioned in your book that some of that your deletion of your cancellation of entities you do in silence because they can hear you. So I'm just sort of all three of those kind of things.
Okay, well, with Yahweh now, I had really never heard the word. I'm sort of a former Catholic, so I actually hadn't heard the word Yahweh. But when I was going to the medium, she had used it a couple of times, and I thought, okay, But what happened to me was my right eye. It's the opposite on this movie, on this video, but my right eye is has a problem, and so it gets dry. I have dry eye. So in the middle of the night, sometimes I'll find my eye wide open and cold and dry, and I can't see out of it. So I keep eye drops next to my bed. So what happened was one night I woke up and my eye was dry, but I realized I couldn't see out of my other eye either. And I was really upset by it. And so I felt around for my eye drops, and I put some in. And when I did that, nothing happened. So, and it was in both eyes. And I was really upset. So I started pacing. I got up out of bed. I started pacing around in my living room, trying to figure out what to do. Was this a permanent situation? At that time I danced a lot. I was a country dancer. So I was like, no dancing, no driving, what kind of a life am I going to have? I mean, because if I couldn't get rid of this, if I couldn't see by putting eye drops in, what was I going to do? And then for some reason, the word Yahweh popped into my head. And I thought, I have nothing to lose. So I started saying Yahweh, I'm not a singer, but you can imagine it. And so I kept saying that over and over. And all of a sudden my eyes just started clearing up bit by bit. And pretty soon it was clear. And I just was so amazed by that. So then after I realized it worked from my eyes, I thought, this is me. Well, what else can I use that for? So I started trying it on everything. Anytime I felt any negativity in the room, I do Yahweh a couple of times. I did it out loud. I did it in silence. I did it in my head only. And it works really, really well. Now, I had no idea. Earlier, I had tried the Jesus Christ, and I had tried everything. I had looked on Mars. There was some website, I think it's called Mars Tech or something like that, where they, I command you in the name of Jesus Christ, and all that kind of thing. And that didn't work. But Yahweh, why does Yahweh work? So at that point, I I didn't care why it worked. I really was just so happy that I could see. And also that I had stumbled upon a tool that would help me in other things. Now, one thing I found is that, and this was happening while I was writing my book too, was everything I wrote down, because I write it in a notebook in cursive, which apparently is a language a lot of people can't read anymore because they don't teach it in schools. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. But it's a great idea to write it all down. Like you have all these patterns, like the beginning of the month pattern and all that. Like I think it's fantastic to write it all down. Just like if you're trying to analyze your dreams or lucid dreaming.
Exactly. So
do you think the Yahweh and the Jesus Christ connection was maybe a personal thing? Like just how, because you never heard of Yahweh, so maybe that's just coming into you as a little more mysterious, whereas Jesus Christ is maybe, he's
got the connotations.
He's a little more mainstream, a little more, you're driving by a bunch of Jesus Christ every day. There's Jesus Christ on every corner.
Maybe. I don't actually know. I mean, I wish I could understand why that word was so powerful and why it wasn't, and why Jesus Christ or the Holy Ghost or, I mean, I had tried everything. And so I have no idea why it was. But being, kind of Catholic, I really didn't use those words that much in my daily life. I mean, I remember praying a lot when I was younger and, then being afraid not to pray because I didn't know what would happen if I didn't pray, and that whole thing. But I didn't really, God as in terms of, religion wasn't really a huge part of my life. So I actually don't know why it worked. I don't know if it's because it's so ancient. I don't know, but it really worked. It really helped me right then. And it has helped me in other times too, when nothing else worked. So I don't know, got me. About the silent thing, one of the things I found was that they are extremely, they're listening to me all the time. So FYI, my computer is compromised and also so is my phone.
So when you say they, in this aspect, it's the ETs and the humans, or?
I believe so. Yeah. I believe they work, some of them work together, and I believe AI is involved actually. I mean, that's not in my book, but because one of the things that kept happening in my, first of all, I've found that if I said anything out loud, then it would be blocked. So I wouldn't be able to use it again. So I stopped talking about it and I just put it in my journal and I would write down what would happen in my cursive. The other thing that would happen is when I was writing my book and I was, trading edits back and forth with my editor, a lot of weird things would happen, and there would, the computer file would have the same date stamp as it had when I sent it to him, but yet it would have all these weird changes. So I really think that AI is involved in some of these things too, because how else would you change a document but have the same exact timestamp? Maybe there are ways, maybe I don't know. But one of the things that happened was with my book was they would add words, they would have they, to, be, can, stuff like that. And so I would have sent it back and I would have already done the spell check and they would have caught all those double words. But yeah, when George, my editor, got it, he would have all these strange, double words in it that weren't there. Or, this is my favorite one, I would have not, to say this doesn't happen or doesn't work, and they would take out the not. So...
Wow.
But one of the strangest things that happened that was really upsetting to George was that, so when we were sending edits back and forth, I would have in my document, because we were using compare documents, which shows the document with changes at the same time as kind of like a combination, he would have his comments, it would say George and then, blah, blah, his comments. And then it would have Lisa, my comments, and, he would say, well, you need to explain this more, you need to take this out or whatever. So on one of the last revisions, I sent it to him. And when he got it, my comments were switched with his. So his comments were my comments and vice versa. And there was a third commenter in there, and it was named admin. And it deleted a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
So, and again, no change in the date stamp. So what's going on there? So because I have to be, so that's why I asked my readers to please, if they're learning stuff about themselves, to write it down in their notebook, but don't say it out loud, because that will make them block. And even in my book, I was trying to be I wanted to be as honest as possible about how I use the tools and what I say and what I don't say. And when I wrote it down in my book initially, then it stopped working and I had to regroup. So that's why I caution everyone that, to try not to talk about it too much and try not to say things out loud. Say it to yourself only, because they're listening to you.
Well, yeah. And there's the other component of it is like the magician is not supposed to talk about his process or whatever in detail. And I mean, we talk about this on the show where that I had this protection thing done to stop this incubus attack on somebody. And the day after I gave that specific detail to somebody, which is kind of what you're saying. I think it overlaps. It's like you give away that power somehow, or something happens, and it happened. Then the attack happened that next day, and it hadn't happened for months, or I don't know, maybe even years before that. So there's some sort of, it's not just, I don't even think it's just an AI thing. There's some spiritual axiom there. There's something weird about that. It's like we have to figure it out on our own, and we can't share those specific details.
Right. Or if you do, maybe you should be in the same room and just pass notes. I mean, because I can't figure out a way to keep that information, to yourself, and that's the hard part, because when I wrote this book, I wanted to share, what I found and give as much detail as possible. But at the same time, as soon as you do that, it doesn't work anymore. So I wanted people to read the book, and I gave you the tools and how I use them at the time. And then you utilize it, and maybe you come up with your own ways of using it, right?
Because, I agree. Exactly. Get to a certain level of detail, but then stop, and then leave the details to everybody's personal preference in a way.
Exactly. And I know you probably thought this too. People have mentioned it to me. I used to be a trainer. And so I added some level of repetition. I did that because I wanted people to remember certain aspects of it, and not have to keep flipping back and forth. So if you found it a little repetitive, I'm sorry, but I was a trainer, and there's a certain point where your eyes glaze over and you can't remember it. So sorry about that.
So can you talk more about the solution itself? Like what, without getting into too many details, but what you actually, like the formula that kind of works for you?
Well, I have, there are two things, and these are in the book, but I got these books. They're from Stuart Swerdlow wrote these two books, and he wrote a lot of other books. So make sure you get those two. But one is the Hyperspace Helper, and the other one is Healing Archetypes and Symbols. And you can see on this book, this is the brown X that I use.
Right.
And also this one is Ultimate Protection. So, and I just wrote the words in there because I didn't want to get into copyright issues with Stuart Swerdlow. And also in the Hyperspace Helper. Now in this book, there are tons of other exercises, and I recommend you use them all if you can, because you want to look into your own mind and see what's going on. So, and not just the way I do it, but definitely do it the way I do it, and then branch off into your own, whatever you find that works the best for you. But what I started doing was, when I found that book, the Hyperspace Helper, and I bought them again with all of the healing books. This one I bought because it had the word healing in it. So, and that turns out to be one of the most important books I could have ever bought. But initially, after I realized that all of my dreams were actually screen memories, which made sense to me, because initially all through my life, I would hear about how dreams are really you, and everyone and everything in the dream is you. Well, that didn't really make sense to me. It didn't resonate with me. What resonated with me was how I felt in a dream. So when I had that dream of, losing my wallet, leaving my purse behind, being in that class where I don't remember signing up for it, but I'm obviously in the class or I never dropped it or, whatever, that stress dream. I always felt stress. So I thought that meant I was stressed in my life. But what I've come to realize that it actually means that I'm stressed and my mind is giving me something that actually makes me feel like I can grasp the stress part of it. So now I know that behind the dream, I'm actually having stress too, but my mind is giving me something typical, something I've done before, or something that I can think of as stress, but without giving me any horror or trauma. So when I started using that book, The Hyperspace Helper, I found a exercise in it called the Green Spiral Staircase. The Green Spiral Staircase is basically a way for you to look in your own mind. And so what you do is you think for a minute, you put your body in a medium green color, your entire body, on your pineal gland, which is right there, your third eye. You put it into a royal blue color. Stuart Swerdlow is big on colors, and it does seem to really work. Green is about memory, and so that's why you put the green on. So then, in your mind's eye, you put your dream or your anxiety. Now, one of the things I found is that you can use this for any negative emotion. It's not just for dreams and ETs and all that, but let's say that you have, for instance, for me, I had claustrophobia. So all my life, I did not have claustrophobia until I reached the age of 40. So I thought, well, what the heck? Where did this come from? So I decided to use the Green Spiral Staircase to look at my claustrophobia. And I drilled down. So let me explain how it works. So after your pineal gland is in royal blue and your body is in medium green, you close your eyes and you think to yourself, I see a medium green spiral staircase in front of me. You get on it. You start walking down. You walk down into the spiral staircase until you feel compelled to step off. Excuse me. When you step off, you should see a scene in front of you. And the scene is telling you what was behind your dream. That's how you see things. But the way you see it is you see it as a way as a movie. You do not participate in it. You just look at it so that you can see what's going on. And then when you're done, you go back up the spiral staircase, because sometimes the scene ends and sometimes it doesn't, but it just gives you the gist. It doesn't give you every detail. It just gives you what you need to know about that situation. Then when it's done, you walk back up the staircase where you started, you stop, and then you put yourself in the brown color, which grounds you. Then you write it all down. So when you're using this, for instance, for claustrophobia, like I did, I, put myself in medium green. I put my pineal gland in blue. I walked down to the spiral staircase thinking about claustrophobia. And then I said, what's behind that? And they said, fear. And I said, okay, what's behind that? Because I need to drill down to the bottom of what is behind each thing. And they said, panic. And I said, what's behind that? Black. What's behind that? A coffin. So as soon as I did that, I felt like I'd cleared it. So I went back up the spiral staircase. I put myself in brown, and then I was in one of those float pods, the type that you have Epsom salts in it, and you float for a little while. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah, float tanks.
Yeah, there was one near my house. So, and before that, I could not close the door all the way. I had to put like one of those little round foam things in the door. So now I can close the door. I can close the door all the way. So I feel like I've cleared that. Now, a couple of other people have tried it. Another show I was on, he tried it on his anxiety. And he said that he saw a green field, and he felt calmness, and then he could sleep. So your experiences will be different than my experiences, but it's a way of clearing out your negative emotions, anxiety, panic, despair, maybe depression. I don't know, but look into it, because it's not just for ETs. It's for figuring out what's holding you back, what fear is holding you back. Because, a lot of things are based in fear. For instance, procrastination, which I suffer from, is actually based in fear. And so if you can drill down, you can get rid of it.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. What's the book called again? Where can our listeners track it down?
Hyperspace Helper.
This book is called The Hyperspace Helper and it's Stuart Swerdlow. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then the other one, and I actually request that you buy these books in my book too, so that you can read them. But it's Healing Archetypes and Symbols by Stuart Swerdlow. You can get them both on Amazon. Both of those, the Green Spiral Staircase and the Brown X and the Protection Symbol are both in my book as well. But you might as well, if you're serious on this quest to find out what's happening to you, you might as well go all the way and buy those books and study them and, go through all the exercises, because it's really helpful.
And you use the Brown X as a cancellation tool for negative entities, right?
Absolutely. So when I use the Green Spiral Staircase for, let's say, my dream where I'm feeling very, where I felt stressed, or any dream, actually. I mean, I started it with the stress dreams, and now I just do any strange dream I have. I look behind it. And when I get to all of those, spiders, or people putting me into a big water tank and all that, I just use the Brown X, and I Brown X out everything in that scene. And then I continue from there. I keep doing that, because you need to, 86 all of those things. And also I've tried to use it for various, illnesses or diseases, and I haven't found the complete, exact, perfect wording for that. But, I'm still working at it. But I'm only being abducted once a night now, and so it does work. And you just need to put the time in. So
Yahweh, the cancellation, some of the other protection symbols in there that you put around yourself, pyramids and triangles and that kind of stuff, and the octahedron you use quite a bit.
Yeah, that's actually from Stuart Swerdlow. Yeah. It's called the Ultimate Protection,
right? And
it's basically a violet. Violet is a very important color. Apparently not purple, but violet, an octahedron, a tetrahedron. And then I'll put a golden circle around, and then a golden triangle. So it just feels like sometimes you just need a little extra protection. And it seems like, geometry is a really interesting thing that, they talk about how everything's geometry. Well, I agree, because it seems like these symbols are all some sort of geometric symbols. And so they really work really well. So you just got to find the what works best for you when you're using it.
Right on. Sounds
awesome. Good. Yeah, thanks. Where can our listeners track you down if they want to, or if you want them tracking you down?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
In physical space, not remote viewing. Like, how do we find you in the ether?
A couple
in the real world. Well, I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Abducted and Furious, and I also have a Facebook group called Abducted and Furious with Lisa O'Hara. It is a private group, so you don't have to worry about, telling your story. And you can also email me at abductedandfurious@yahoo.com.
Nice. What does Facebook think about these kind of groups?
Still supportive for now? It's a good question, but there's tons of groups out there. I mean, I think every podcast has a Facebook group, whether they're public or not. Well, I don't know. Facebook is getting kind of weird now, I think, because it seems like every once in a while, like, for instance, I talked about Lahochi, and I couldn't type in the Lahochi.com, which was just the words Lahochi.com.
Wow.
And I kept getting an error saying, this is against our community standards. It's like, what part of this?
Oh, my God. See, that's getting crazy. We're getting shadow banned a little bit too.
Our whole existence is against the community standards.
What's happening to you guys?
We tend to push back pretty hard against things. We
So,
got
like-
we got banned from didn't get banned, but we got warnings from like 5 different places in the span of 2 days, including our clothing manufacturer.
What?
So
Yeah,
that means we're having a good week.
we're pushing
We're
back
winning.
against vaccines a little bit too hard, and Instagram posts getting taken down, and Facebook sending notices that they're not going to be showing our stuff as much, and
Wow.
yeah, it's getting crazy. So
Fuck 'em
Yeah,
if they
so
can't take a joke.
they are getting weird, but I think that they had, they didn't do enough for a long time, and now they're like overcorrecting. That's what I
exactly,
think.
yes, big
Right.
overcorrections and one way corrections as well. But
Yeah,
But we'll
well, that's
stay
one
out
of the problems. I mean, even with YouTube, right? They're like, well, we don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened to President Trump.
yeah, exactly.
He just got banned all outright.
Yeah. Anyways,
So-
thanks for coming on. We'll put links to our show notes in our show notes for all your stuff. And yeah, good luck with your book.
And
Thank
good
you.
luck with the abductions. Hopefully you get that down to like once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be very nice.
Keep us
Thank
in the
you very
loop on how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will. When I write my next book, I'll contact you again.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa.
Sounds good.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Now was a chat with Lisa O'Hara. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, it's I don't know, resonated with me on many different levels. I'm telling you, when I was reading it about the David Morehouse book and the Moldavite crystal she talked about, and her dad healing from a crystal out of what do you call that again? Out of hospice or palliative care. And then the whole just keeping things silent. Like, that's such a weird thing. I wanted to talk about on another podcast about that recently, so I got my
About
chance
keeping
now.
things silent?
Just about giving away the secret or keeping things, like, why do we have to figure it out on our own and we can't tell people the details? Like, from a spiritual perspective, trying to block evil and demonic. Why is that law there?
Is it there?
Yeah, dude, it's happened. It
You're
happens.
talking to the mic.
It happens.
Do you think it? Maybe it's just our own like.
I know. Maybe it's our
blockage.
intention, our
It's our own,
blockage.
like,
I know.
cultural. As a culture, we can't.
No,
I
dude.
don't want to hear about it. It's like talking about jerking off in high school. You can't talk about that.
Dude,
shit.
the vampires still got to ask for the way in. That's not our fault.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is that why the elites tell us when they're up to shady shit?
Exactly, dude.
Is it?
It's
They're like vampires.
yeah, literally.
Big thanks to Lisa for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. If you guys like what you hear and you want to hear more, check out the back catalog if you haven't done that. I mean, we should mention the back catalog more. We really should. There's like,
Yeah.
I think we're almost at 500 episodes now.
Yeah, it's all free.
It's all free. It goes back. I mean, I don't know if the
There's some
Apple
great apps
podcast
in
player
there,
goes all
man.
the way
Like-
back, but most of them go all the way back. I know, like if you once the Grimerica 2.0 feed is fully launched, and so I'm really beta testing it hard now with a few hundred people, but it goes all the way back to episode 1, even in the Apple podcast player. I'm pretty sure.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different topics we discussed in there, lucid dreaming and a lot of stuff that overlaps with what she was talking about, abductions and UFOs and consciousness and remote viewing and meditation and spirituality and all kinds of stuff. So if you ever, if you're curious, and I don't know, just email me and I'll give you a list of the people I think that you might like if you're interested in certain topics.
Do you still have a good running list, or have you lost?
No,
I like when people
lost it for sure. but-
email me now and they're like, "Give me your top 5." It's just
I
like,
know. Oh.
dude, there's 500 fucking people there. Like, come on, it's too much.
And it just shifts constantly. But that's the thing. It just whatever's on the top of your head right now.
Yeah. So check out that back catalog. If you guys are getting some value from the podcast, adding a little value to your day, your commute, your gym, wherever you're listening, your work, making your work suck less. How much less? $2 less, $3 less, $5 less. Head over to grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for a monthly if you can. Make a one-time donation. It's what helps us pay the bills, keep the lights on, hopefully keep improving, keep growing, and keep trying new things. Speaking of which, let us know if you notice a difference in the audio this episode, because this will be the first interview that we tried rolling out some new stuff.
Oh.
Some new recording style. I'm going to, some new editing process I'm going to try out. So let us know if you notice a difference on this show compared to the last one.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Anything else?
That's about it, I guess. Yeah.
Spam
Just email, spam.
Email them.
What else?
Check out
Chats
other
and
podcasts.
sign up for the
Grimerica.ca/chats.
newsletter. That's big time. We got to get everybody in the newsletter. Get us on the newsletter so that when things go down,
We can just
email everybody.
Grimerica.ca/news.
Outlawed.
Outlawed, Grimerica Outlawed.ca. I mean, if you just go to Grimerica.ca, you can get to everywhere. You can get to the swag store from there. You can get to Outlawed. You can get to the audiobooks. Everything's at Grimerica.ca. It really has become our home base.
Yeah, check out some audiobooks. That's a good way to support the show. Give some reviews. I'm still a little insecure about the narration, so if you put some good reviews in there, it might help us sell some more books.
Graham, insecure narrator Dunlop. All right,
That's
guys.
weird, dude.
I bet.
Like you get in this zone and then you think, oh my God, it's terrible.
All right, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
I sat on the wall. I could see it all. Trickery was afoot, and evil was at its root. The people were scatterplots. Not many could connect the dots. Some people stood tall, in spite of their righteous voices made small. Put down your phone, your soul's turned to stone. The rhythm of the algorithm has driven a schism, created this prison. I'm shocked and appalled at the technocracy's gone, pulling strings of marionettes, setting traps in cybernets. Infinite scroll as addictive as cigarettes. Cat videos for freedom of the press. People that stand tall, in spite of our righteous voices made small. Put down your phone, your soul's turned to stone. The rhythm of the algorithm has driven a schism, created this prison. Double click uninstall. Rome's about to fall. This hard drive is corrupted, and our minds have been abducted by a silicon dream so seductive. When yelling at bots becomes unproductive, people, we need to stand tall, in spite of our righteous voices made small. Put down your phone, your soul's turned to stone. The rhythm of the algorithm has driven a schism, created this prison.